YouTube. Why did YouTube change the whole effing layout of everything yet again? So why? Why? You had something that worked, and now it doesn't. I agree, Mib is Frenchy. Someday I'll figure out how to pronounce your name. Mib is Frenchy. Motherboard is Frenchy. Mib is... So, today what I'd like to do is go over my attempt at creating a basic set of standards. So I just kind of copied and pasted some stuff out of my own manual, trying to keep things that don't necessarily belong as generalized standards here. Yeah, I'm kind of a little in over my head with that idea, but what the hell. So I want to kind of go over all the standards that I had come up with and the basics of how like the basic concepts of how to run a repair business. And one of the things that I thought is that as I'm going through the standards, what I should do is with each rule or standard give a why. So I don't think that people necessarily respect rules without or standards without a why. And also by having a why there with each standard, what it does is, if at any point in time the standard it's not doing what it's supposed to do, you can change the rule or the standard based on the why behind it. So let's kind of go through my shitty little document here. So this is my basic document, and in the black is the standard or the rule, and in the green is the reason that it exists. So that, because again, I don't expect anybody to want to follow any sort of rule unless you tell them why they should follow it. Let me just move my face to the other side. Bada bing. So the first rule that I got here is when walking in, you should greet a customer within 7 seconds. A head nod, a hand motion with eye contact, anything. Don't leave them hanging as if they did not walk in at all. If you're busy helping out another customer or finishing a phone call, tell them you'll help them out in a minute or two, or with a hand gesture that you will help them out soon. And my reason is they'll understand if you are dealing with other customers, but they will take it personally if they are being ignored. There is nothing customers hate more than being ignored. It will get you a 1-star. It will give a bad impression to the industry if when you walk in, the people there just act like whatever they're working on is more important than the actual customer. Next up on the list, let me just shrink my... I really should get 2 monitors for this. I'm not really being a good streamer here. Anyway, Cam says this looks familiar. Yeah, Cam is a new hire, and he has been doing phenomenal. Like, I'm waiting for him to disappoint me, but I don't think that he will. He has been doing an amazing job. I'm going to try to steal him away from that other repair shop that he works at when he's supposed to go back to work for them. Kind of like thinking through in my head what I can do to steal him away. Next, when asking a customer what's wrong with their device, try to get as much information as you can. How did the issue start occurring? Was there a liquid spill? If so, where did it spill? Is data important? What's the history of the device? The reason behind this is a standard. The more information we have up front, the better we can come up with a solution for them later. You wouldn't want to be caught calling a customer with the news, "Hi, yeah, it looks like we can't fix your device, but the good news is that data recovery is possible," if the customer said during drop-off that all the data is already backed up and not important. The more we know and have in the ticket at the beginning, the lower the likelihood that you look like a fool later. So if someone casually mentioned, I really just want this thing to work again so I can start using it for school. Luckily, all my data's backed up. And then you tell them, "I'm sorry, we can't fix it, but we could offer you data recovery for $300. They're going to look at you and say, "Why the fuck are you telling me you can do data recovery? I said that I don't need the data." And you're going to look like an idiot. And what you're looking for is to increase the general confidence that people have in the industry, increase the confidence that they have in you by not putting yourself in a situation where you look like a fool. And this is a very, very common mistake, is that like they'll say, "Well, the customer didn't say this is important," but the customer didn't say that this is important. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. You should always be listening to everything that's important. Remdog Cap says something really important is having an easy and good way to make complaints. Even more important is being able to investigate and punish violations. We're not there yet. I've gotten over 100 emails since I asked. I made my basic ask if people had successful repair shops to share their standards. I'm not kidding. Out of the 100 emails, I got 0 with any of that. So I made the mistake. There's a mistake I made, and this is the internet. So I should have known better. you never ask for what you want. You do it wrong, and then you wait for people to correct you. So what I did is I asked for what I wanted, which resulted in 100 plus emails that had nothing to do with what I asked for. So here we're trying a different strategy. I'm going to do it wrong, and then you can correct me. So we'll see how this works. I can't have a system to investigate and punish violations of standards that don't exist. You're jumping ahead. How do I punish violations of standards when there's no standards? So standards first. We shouldn't have fucking a document. This is a fucking Google Doc draft, man. Come on, chill out. Anyway, so let's continue. Test out the device to see what it needs. If the front gets busy, give it to a tech to give it an estimate on it so you can move on to second customer. This is not really an industry standard. This is not an industry standard. This is just a basic rule for my own business. So I'm actually going to copy and paste that to the end and put that as... Fuck, my mouse fell. Where'd the mouse go? Blackberry, catch the mouse. Blackberry, catch the mouse. Catch the mouseberry. Catch the mouseberry. So I'm going to put that over here and say specific to us, not industry. And put that in red because that actually does not belong here. Go back to the top. If the price of an estimate is close to the value of the device, make sure to tell the customer that it may not be worth repairing before giving the customer the estimate. My reason. Customers of repair shops are often on edge about being ripped off. If you let them know beforehand that the cost of repair might not be economically viable, they will not accuse you of later trying to sell them something that wasn't worth it. It builds trust rather than anxiety and demonstrates that you are on their side, which if you run a good repair shop, you should be. I have seen more than enough posts on Facebook groups when I actually used to have a Facebook where they'd say, well, I don't know why a customer wants to pay $400 for something that's worth $2, but if they want to, it's their money. I think that's disgusting because the customer may not actually be aware that the device that they're giving you is only worth $200. I kind of think of it in the way, who is your fiduciary responsibility to? And, there's a thing with real estate where if you're dealing with the wrong person, they may be there. You have to deal with someone whose responsibility is to your interests. And I think that, Mr. Clinton, did you just knock my phone off my chair, you little fucker? Thanks. Bastard. The issue is that your responsibility should be, what are the best interests of my customer? Sometimes that's going to be telling them no to the things that they want you to do. Or even if it's not saying no, it's going to be saying, listen, I'm more than happy to do this as long as you know that you're paying me double what this is worth to fix it. If it is sentimental to you, I understand that. If you want to re-gift this to somebody, I understand that. If it's for a school project or whatever, fine. But just so we're on the same page, you can buy this thing that you brought me that you want to pay $400 to fix on eBay in fully working order for $200. I think that people, even if they're happy in the moment, if they find out a month or 2 or 6 months later that they got tricked, that it reflects badly on the industry. And I think this is a general concept that you should always have your customer's best interest in mind when dealing with them. You are not just an advocate for your business, you're an advocate for the reputation of the industry as a whole, and that means having your customer's best interest at heart. And if they don't know a piece of information, then that's going to be your job to share it with them. I missed, is there a link to this? I'll put it in chat. Probably won't work, but we'll see. Where is Lewis reading this from? Chat. I'm reading this from the chat on my OnlyFans/Rossman Group Tits page. That's definitely not reading from the YouTube chat that I'm streaming to as I'm streaming to YouTube, of course. Let's see. If we cannot repair a device because it is too new or we don't have the part for it, tell the customer that we do not have it. If the part is not in the market, let them know why. Apple goes out of their way to make it difficult to impossible for independent repair shops to source parts to repair their products by locking us out of supply chains. Now, I probably should edit this rule, and I'll tell you why I'm going to edit the rule when I'm done with this. When bad news is given, the customer will often be agitated, some more than others, and some will handle it better than others. You can't change how people feel about bad news, but you can focus the direction of their agitation at someone other than yourself. It makes sense for a customer to be mad at you if you aren't able to help them with their problem, when they have every reason to believe you can, which is why it's important to explain why we can't. Let them understand that we would love to help them, but the manufacturer goes out of their way to make it impossible for us to do so. All right, so this rule needs to be changed because there's a general principle that I'm getting at here. So there's a principle that I'm getting at here, which is if you can't do something, explain the why rather than just saying no. So it should be anytime you say no or are turning away a customer, give an explanation of the real and full drawn out why. Why? People will without this, people will feel as if you do not want to help them and take it personally. I'll change this. This is an example. So I'm going to use blue for example, green for the why, and black is going to be the rule. So anytime you say no or are turning away a customer, give an example, explanation of the real and full drawn out why. Or let's say, if they ask you to work on a device that you do not work on, don't just say no. Tell them that it requires experience to open the device properly without breaking it, and you fear that you may cause the device harm, without experience, whereby another repair shop that has experience with that device would be more qualified and capable of the job. There we go. That's not helpful, Jack Burton. Donut Media mentioned you in their latest video about John Deere tractors. I'll look up Donut Media. All right, so the general idea that I'm trying to get at here is I want to have the black text be the rule of the standard and the green be the why that standard exists. So this standard, anytime you're saying no to a customer, give an explanation of the real, I should say not real, the honest why. Without this, people will feel as if you don't want to help them and take it personally. As if the repair industry as a whole doesn't want to help them. John, that is so far away. That is so far away. We're at step 1. You're thinking about step 30. Like step 1. Step 1. Step 1! Not step 30. 1. Step 1! You start at step 1! Step 1! Step 1! All right. Indeed, John Criterion. WTH. All right. We continue. What are the pictures that show up in the document? When they leave the device, make sure to leave in the notes where the device is in the store, what was quoted, the price and time frame quoted, the model number, as well as the condition of the device. If it's beat, scratched, pristine, let the ticket notes reflect this. All right, this is actually part of a separate standard, so I gotta move this around. So I kind of messed this up. So when you note the device, like if it's beat up or scratched, this is separate reason. Okay, so when you leave, keep track of the customer. Keep track of the condition of the device as it enters the store. All right, this is going to be its own. If it's beat up or scratched, let the ticket notes reflect this. The reason we do this is difficult customers will sometimes use scratches in the case as the reason to not pay the bill or create lengthy, unnecessary, drawn-out conflict that takes you away from productive work. By notating these on intake, you can confidently assert they were already there. Being confident in this assertion will usually shut it down without further conflict, but this assertion won't be as confident if you aren't sure. Everybody's been there when they've had a difficult asshole customer that's nitpicked at every single fucking thing, from how the door hinge works, to the appearance, to just every little fucking part of the experience. Like, I've had people actually bitch about the door hinge before. They want to bitch. And what they're going to do is when you give it back to them fully working, they're going to point to a scratch that was there at the beginning and say, I'm not paying you. You can inform them, but they're going to ignore that REM dog cap. It doesn't matter. I could have a conversation with you where I say, see this? This was already there. And then 2 weeks later, when they come to pick up, they're going to say, no, it wasn't. So that doesn't matter. What you need to do... Now, taking photographs of every single device, that's probably going to be a ridiculous waste of your time. That's going to waste a lot of time, I'm not sure. But you may have different ways of doing it. You may want to take a picture of every side of the device. Other places may want to videotape it. Others may just want to take notations. But what I think as a general standard... A general standard should be, just if we're just going to do a standard for the whole industry, just like notate the condition of what it is you receive. Notate condition. How maybe iPad Rehab takes a video, I take notes, another repair shop has pictures. If you have a line out the door of customers saying, just give me 1 second, let me just take the SD card out of my camera, connect it to the computer, grab the DSC00128 file that corresponds to your particular computer and upload it to the ticket, like that is such a fucking buzzkill for workflow. Other places, everybody's going to have their own way of doing this. And they're going to come up with the way that works based on their local customers, based on their experiences, based on what they're comfortable with. So, keep track of the condition as it enters the store. Basic shit. A standard customer app. It should include picture taking. Get Repair Shopper to make it easy to just attach a webcam that integrates with it, and then I take a picture. Because if we're talking about some shit where I have to take the SD card out of the camera, put it into the computer, go to my computer, go to the thing, figure out which DSC file was the one that I just took versus the one that I took 10 minutes ago, that is such a cluster. Anyway, next, let's not get tunnel visioned on one small part. I'm trying to avoid having people tunnel vision because we're going to all tunnel vision on how to solve this particular problem instead of focusing on the big picture. Next, if there is liquid damage in the machine, make sure to take the logic board out of the machine. Don't assume the board is clean when looking at one side of the machine. Customers may return with a device that dies again if we only address one section of the machine without addressing the unsealed liquid on the other side. One side of the board can look clean while the opposite looks like a train wreck. I cannot say how many times I've dealt with people, other repair shops, or employees that at this point no longer work here over many, many years where a customer would say, I spilled something on the keyboard. They would replace, let's say, a trackpad if there was something wrong with the track. They wouldn't take the board out and look at the other side of it. Because this side of the board looked perfect. But when you do this, it looks disgusting. But taking the board out to look at the other side of it actually requires taking all of the screws out. And that is something that nobody wants to do because it takes work. If someone says we have liquid damage, look at the fucking board of the device. Not one side, both sides. Next. This is... Stop it. Barry! Barry! She's trying to Alt-F for me. Alright, this is really a standard that I'm going to put in my section because this is for us. Because, pricing for rush service has nothing to do with anybody else. When offering rush service, tell the customer it's $45 and non-refundable, but this will put them in the front of the queue. Yeah, this is not for the industry. This is just me. So next, we put this at the end. I am not a champion, Felix. I'm just a normal dude. All devices should have... Here, now I can delete this one because this is... Yeah. All devices should have an addressable location, such as a slot number, or if it was handed to a technician, who you give the device to. All the slot numbers in our store have a letter and a number assigned to them, so we can easily find where the machine is in the store. If you take in a machine without a slot number, it makes it difficult, if not impossible, for it to be located. People should know where things are. Shouldn't charge more to do it properly, or if they do, it should be rolled. And like, what? What are you talking about? Anyway. Okay, so the idea here is that you should be able to find anything in your store at any given time. If you have to physically look for something and go, if someone says, I want to pick this up, and you have to scroll through a list or go through boxes, you fucked up. If you are a real repair shop, you know where the devices are in your store at any given time, and you can find them. If you can't find a customer's device, you have failed. At any given time, you should be able to be prepared that if someone walks in and goes, oh, I left a sticker on it or whatever, oh, I want to grab this file off of it, you should find that immediately. You should be able to find it immediately. Now, what type of addressing system you use, I don't care. I don't care how you go about it. I don't care if you use IP addresses. I don't care if you use Excel spreadsheet like A1, A2, A3, A5, A6. I don't care if you do it in binary. I don't care if you do it in Latin. But there should be a way that you know where the device is. So in my store, I have different slots for different purposes. So I have like A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, B1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, again, like if you want to go full, complete lack of productivity, and I'm going to focus on this one thing at the expense of everything else in the business, you could do blockchain or NFC tag everything. But the basic concept is you should know where everything is at any given time. There should be no mystery. If a device is liquid damage, remove the power source before leaving it in a slot to prevent more damage to the device. Leaving the battery plugged in means it will continue to degrade as it sits in the slot waiting for a technician to begin working on it. If you're taking a device for liquid damage, unplug the battery. Unplug the battery. This is something that I don't think Apple would do. If you send it off to them and it's sitting in a slot, I'm not sure if they would unplug the battery before waiting to do any of the other things on it. Not that it even matters because they're replacing everything. If you're working on liquid damage devices, it should be frozen in time. The moment it enters your store, I think it should be frozen in time. It's going to corrode while it's in the mail. It's going to corrode as it's on the way, as someone's on the way to the store or as they're waiting to get to you. But once it enters your store, it should be frozen in time in that slot until it gets to a technician. What if a user lies that it is not liquid but turns out to be liquid? If your store is run by someone who is competent, they're going to be opening the device to figure that out, get a general idea of it when they open it. You know, if someone says frankly that's on them. But at that point, if someone says I have liquid damage, I think you should open it up. So why are we I'm losing space by having the top of my screen have crap on it. I think you should unplug the battery anyway. How often does a customer say they didn't spill anything? Again, now we're being pedantic. You're going to open... most places are going to open it when they... Because here's the thing. If you make standards that seem overreaching bureaucratically, then people won't follow them because they'll think this is fucking stupid. You don't want to make bureaucratic overreach with your standards. Like, so what? If someone brings me a device for a cracked screen, I have to unplug the battery. If someone brings me a device that randomly turns off, I have to unplug the battery. People are going to look at that standards list, and I know what they're going to do because this is me. What they're going to do is they're going to look at the standards list and go, this is bullshit. I cannot follow this and still be a good repair shop. Fuck this. I'm not listening to the rest of it. And we don't want that type of... There's no point for that. If there is a device that we do not offer service on, try to refer them to another repair shop that may be able to help with the issue they're having. That reason has nothing to do with this. This is me on crack. All right. Oh, this has to go here. Okay, so if there's a device we don't offer service on, refer them to someone else. And I should probably put refer to this rule up here. So I'm going to put over here, refer to this rule. We'll come back to that and make that one a little better later. And put this in green. You do not want people. Huh. Remdog says, such as if a side job gets one device a week, why should they have to have all the same requirements as a 50 device a week company? 1 out of 1, 2 out of 2. What? I think that these standards are standards that are scalable. So let's go over every single one on the list before I do this. We're not doing numbers yet because I don't even know how much of this shit I'm going to keep versus delete. When dealing with a liquid damage device, so let's go to the top. Greeting someone when they walk in. I don't care if you have 1 device a week or 1 device a month. Say hello to people when they walk in. When dealing... Oh, son of a bitch. I don't think I read this one. Anyway, we'll get... Okay, if the price of the estimate is close to the value of the device, make sure to tell the customer. You should be on their side. Yes, I think if you have 1 device a week or 2,000, same shit. If you're saying no to a customer, give an explanation of the honest why so that they don't think you don't want to help them. You can follow this if you have 1 customer or 1,000,000. Keep track of the condition of what you receive. 1 device or 1,000,000, you can follow that. If there's liquid damage, take the board out and inspect both sides. You can follow this if you have 1 device or 1,000,000. This is scalable. This is scalable for me from 12 years ago to Walmart entering the repair market. All devices should have an addressable location. Okay, so even if you only have 1 shelf in your house, you should put machine is on this shelf in your system. Keep track of where it is. So it is on this shelf in this room of my house in this section, so that you're not, I don't know, looking through your basement to see if you left it in your garage or something. If it's liquid damage, remove the power to it to keep it from degrading. You can do that if you have one. Like, all of these rules apply to whether you have only 1 person or 1,000,000 people. I don't want to make the type of rules that shut people who are small out of the job. Rather, it's the opposite. I want to make rules that make it easier for people who are just starting to be taken more seriously. Hello, Damaris. Yeah, so, like, what does the contact want to do? Like, just give me an idea. Here we go. Model number. When they leave the device, make sure to leave notes as to where it is, what we quoted, that's it. What you quoted, the customer, price, the price and time frame, customer 4, the price and time frame, anything discussed, and the model number. Oh, what did I just do? Mystery does no one any good. You want to know all of these are necessary details to keep track of to ensure that yeah, pretty much. That's self-explanatory. If you take a machine from a slot, make a note of where the device is. You should be able to find where any machine is at any time in the store. It is incredibly annoying to go through a slot only to find the machine is not there because someone else took it. Further, you need to be able to tell where something is at any time in case something must be retrieved from it or it must be reassembled for collection by a customer when you're not here. Every small shop is going to have this. They say the device is in slot D3. That's the new slot. Or it gets taken from the new shelf and there's 3 or 4 different people working on it. And now the customer wants to come pick it up early because they got paranoid or whatever and you need to give it back to them. But it's not in the new slot. Where is it? You look at the ticket and you don't know. Because the person who took the device doesn't have an estimate yet, so they haven't put a note in. But they also didn't have a note that says, I took it from the new slot. So you're not going to know where to look for it. This is something that really more affects smaller shops than bigger ones because once you've become a larger shop, you've had this happen enough times that you don't ever want to deal with it again and you have a system for it. If you're going to take a machine, make a note of where it is before you even start working on it. You should be able to find where anything is at any time. After working on a machine, if the machine looks dirty, use a microfiber cloth and cleaning solution. Don't assume that someone else will clean the device before handing it back or shipping it back to the customer. My reason for this. Could use technician tags that could be left in the slot. That's kind of maybe, but then you're going to overcomplicate things. Like, what if one slot has multiple devices? It's like just have a way to tell where it is. And perhaps what I would want to do there is make the standard really, really basic. So like make a note of where it is. Where or how you make that note of where it is, that's on you as an individual business to come up with. The basic overarching standard is you should know where it is while it's being worked on. How you accomplish that, that's going to be up to the individual shop. But the primary, this is the principle. You have to come up with some way to be compliant with it. After working on a machine, if it looks dirty, use a cloth with cleaning solution. Don't assume that someone else will clean it before handing it back or shipping it to the customer. And don't assume it came into the store that way. If each person assumes the way a device arrives at their desk is how it came into the store and does not clean it, this increases the likelihood of it being given back to a customer with stains or mark that were not there initially. It leaves a good impression when a customer receives a device back looking better than when they brought it. Erica is sharpening her knives right now, it seems, to get ready for... Oh, she's sharpening something right now. It sounds like she's getting ready for some Mortal Kombat shit. So the idea here, I would just say you need some sort of inventory tracking system. No. What does that mean? What is inventory? Most people think of inventory as the parts that they have. They don't. That's not. No. John, you usually give amazing, excellent advice. You're killing me here. So inventory tracking is keeping track of parts. Keeping track of this, like, I don't want to be too specific. I don't want to say you need to use this solution, but I don't want to give people the idea that just use an inventory tracking system and you're good. No, the specific that while you're working on the device, you need to know where it is a very specific that I want there. Inventory is cut, but like what is inventory tracking? Like, did it show up? No, I want the specific guideline of when it shows up, you know where it is. When it moves around the store, you know where it is. How you accomplish that is up to you, but that you need to do. What software you use, whatever you use for it, this specific element of it is an element that, in my opinion, is non-negotiable. When you are taking the device from one technician to another, you should know where it is, and when it comes into the store, you should know where it is. That is non-negotiable. I don't want to just say just have inventory tracking, because a new person's going to read that and they're going to interpret that very differently. Their inventory tracking may not specifically say where it is at any given time. I want that to be specific. Where is it as it moves through your store? If I just say inventory tracking, that means different things to many different people. You're killing me, John. You're killing me. Before anyone can access the inventory, permission must be asked and every access move must be documented. I'm not afraid of misunderstanding. I just know that it's going to be misinterpreted in that way. It's not even misunderstanding. It's just have inventory tracking doesn't really... Saying have inventory tracking is not specific enough to ensure that this specific goal is accomplished. What are these standards for? These standards are for making broccoli. I'll give you a wild guess. Anyway. So this standard over here, the one that I was working on. An ambiguous standard isn't a value. Exactly. There you go. So after working on the machine, if it looks dirty, clean it. This is just so basic. If a customer gets something back and it's dirtier when they get it back than it was when they received it, when they get it back than it was when they gave it to you, that reflects bad on the entire industry. This is the easiest shit to do. No, it doesn't matter how fucking disgusting it is, and all of you who watch my channel are fully aware of how fucking filthy 90% of what I work on is. It is disgusting. They are dripping with pubes and fingernails and cum and bugs and brown sticky shit. It's gross. Take a microfiber cloth, take some cleaning solution, just wipe it down a little bit. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. And they're going to notice. They're going to be so happy when they get it back and it's cleaner. And 90% of the people who are going to complain about how dirty it is, in my experience, are the people that fucking dropped it off that way. So you're also helping yourself out of having to deal with the bitching back and forth. And you may think, well, it's not my job to clean it. It's not my job to clean the device. I am not their maid. I'm not a cleaning service. It is what it is. You're going to deal with the person having a 15-minute argument with you about how they got it back. You eliminate that with 20 seconds of cleaning. It makes everybody happy. In the end of the day, from a practical standpoint, it makes sense to clean things. Okay, this is a standard for my store. This is not something that I think should be a standard for everybody. When talking on the phone, if they want an estimate over the phone, tell them it's a general estimate. This is like a best practice thing to avoid getting fucked over when someone brings you a device that's different from what they say it is on the phone. So I don't think that necessarily needs to be an industry standard. When a customer picks up a device, make sure to confirm with them a combination of the name, phone number, email, and ticket number. Maybe less specific. Make sure, or whatever is necessary for you to believe in good faith you are giving the right individual the right device. Yeah, so I have to remember that I don't want my standards for my store to be what I apply to the entire industry. What I want to do is I want to make it so that I'll give you the principle and then you figure out how to do it. So if you're picking up, a customer's picking something up, you need a way to tell that you're giving them the right thing. So you're going to have to confirm with them, not just the ticket number, but a little bit more. Now, I'm going to have to edit this a little bit because I don't want it to be this specific, which is why I have the or in there. The or is kind of a cop-out because I'm not making it very specific, but it's better than nothing. If they are picking up a successful data recovery, make sure to show them the data and what was recovered. Have them look through the data before taking payment. You will want to avoid the callback 2 years later when they say, hey, this isn't my data. If you work in data recovery, I'm trying to figure out how to put this without making it specific to any one case and getting myself in trouble by revealing something that's confidential. So give me a moment to think this through. Sometimes people are going to have you recover data that they are so embarrassed by that they're going to say that it wasn't theirs. Make sure to get them to confirm it's theirs before they pay. Then you give them the data after they pay. Yeah, I'm not even, that's not even the right way to explain it. I'm just not going to get into it because if I do, I'm going to wind up citing something from the actual example and getting myself into some shit. Just not going there. It's a general best practice. It's a general best practice to show them what it is that they are going to be paying for. Anyway. Just trust me. I don't have the full. I can't type out the whole full fucking why. Just fucking trust me. Just trust me. If they are picking up a successful repair, show the customer the device working and have them test out the device before taking payment. Try to boot the device before handing it back so you don't leave the customer waiting anxiously to see if it works. A small number of difficult customers will use any part of the customer experience that is not perfect as a reason to bargain for a lower price. or feed their own anxiety or distrust for repair shops, which often results in a litany of paranoid questions. These experience imperfections include you having to find a charger because it won't turn on when you give it back to them, battery died in the slot, or the device booting up slowly. So, for instance, let's say a customer refuses to... Let's say that a customer refuses to fix a hard drive that has 30 bad sectors on their 2006 A1181. They just want you to replace a screen, and they refuse to do anything else to it. When you give it back to them, even if you replace the screen, they go, "Why is it so slow? What'd you do when you replaced the screen? Why is it doing this? Well, the hard drive's bad. What? So you want me to spend more money? Is that what it is? You want me to spend more money? You're trying to trick me into spending more money? Did you break my hard drive?" No. Fuck that. Fuck that. Here's what you do. When you're getting the device ready for the customer, before you bring it to the front, you fucking wait for it to boot. And you have somebody have a talk with them in the front. How's it going? You want a coffee? So how about them Yankees? What do you think of the weather? How about that Fox and MSNBC? Oh, don't they hate each other? So on and so forth. And then, once the device has booted, and it works, and it's charged 100%, you give it back to them. And you say, "Hey, look, check it out. Your device works. Bada bing, bada boom." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." Or, here's the best part. Someone comes to you in the store for board repair because it's not turning on. You fix the board. The battery's at 5%. You test it a little. You put it in the slot. The front desk person comes to give it to the machine, comes to the back to get to the machine to bring it to the customer when they come in. They go to test it out. They put it on the table. They hit the power button, and it's fucking dead. You look like a moron. That device spent 5 days at the store because it didn't turn on, and you handed it back to them, and it doesn't turn on. Doesn't matter what you did. You could have run 30 wires in that board or placed 90 components on it. They brought it to you not turning on. It still doesn't turn on now. It may not turn on because the battery's dead. Doesn't mean you don't look like any less of an idiot. Charge it. Make sure that what you're giving to the customer works. It's at a login screen. It's a phone, not on an Apple logo for 3 minutes as it's booting for the first time since you perform whatever recovery or NAND reprogramming. It boots. It's on. It's immediately ready to be used. Perhaps this is a best practice and not a standard, but I still think it should be included. Why don't you have a bank of chargers in your racking? It does not matter if you have a bank of chargers in your racking. When you hand the device to the customer, they're not always going to plug it in. They're going to want to turn it on. They're going to want to sit down away from that. They're going to want to see that it works. When the moment you hand it back to them, now granted, you may plug it in for them, but then they may pick it up away from the charger and go to turn it on. What do you do then? Exactly. Sit down and pipe down, motherfucker. All right, next standard. Pipe down, young Twitch chat. I meant charge it before they arrive. Exactly, that's the whole point. Charge it before they arrive. That's why. It's a standard. Make sure the shit works. Make sure the shit works. Now again, should you charge the device before they show up? Should you do whatever? Have the device in working condition when you hand it back to a customer. I'm not going to say have the device charging in a rack as a standard, because then people are going to say, well, I don't need to do that to be a good repair shop. That's ridiculous, and they'll ignore it. Have a system where what you're doing is you're giving the customer back something that works. Indeed, legendary broccoli. We smack down the Twitch chat. All these rumors that Lewis doesn't read Twitch are unfounded. We don't ignore Twitch. We just abuse Twitch. Gradients are the same thing. Okay. Do you require chargers that the customer use to see if there is a problem with it as well? Do you generally charge it with your own chargers? It depends. If it's something where I plug it in and it already works and they say it doesn't, I'd like to see their charger. But if someone says I have a cracked screen, there's no point. Twitch is Rossman's redheaded stepchild. You spelled my name wrong. Now I feel the same way that probably Twitch feels when I talk about them. I cry now. Now I'm sad. If we could not do a repair or data recovery, apologize for not being able to do more for the customer and give the device back. Many customers are already in a mood to leave a 1-star review when they expect a repair and we are unable to perform it, for whatever reason. Blunt the edge by letting them know that you care about the fact that you couldn't fix the device. If you couldn't fix something, and you give it back to the customer and say, here you go, and they walk out, they don't actually take that as, we tried, we failed, we're not charging you here. What they take that as is this. Fuck you. Fuck you, customer. You fucking piece of shit customer. That's the way they take it. And it's important to let them know that it's not the way it is. That you actually do care, that you wish you could have done better. So what I usually do is I say, hey, I'm sorry things didn't work out, or I'm sorry we couldn't do more for you. And I hand it back and I say, no, I'm sorry, we tried, but I'm sorry we couldn't do more for you. I want them to know that we actually tried. And that's all they're looking for. That's all the customer is looking for. They want to know that you gave a fuck about their device. That you didn't say, fuck this idiot who owns an Apple product. No. I hope being buried in the details aren't bringing down your enthusiasm for this project. Here, have a cheap burrito. No. Thank you very much. But I am I still am enthusiastic about it, even if there is a lot of stuff to be done. I'm just making it through one bit at a time. Someone says that's bad customer service. How is it bad customer service to say, I'm sorry, we couldn't do more for you? You try to explain why you couldn't fix it. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes they don't really want to hear it. They just want to know that you care. Going into it more is just going to disappoint them as they're grieving. So if they're grieving and you start explaining why it was unfixable when they didn't ask, you're just kind of you're kind of bathing in their pain, and I try to avoid that. Emailing customer service. Aim to respond to the customer email immediately after they've sent it using information from the knowledge base. Customers often email 3 to 5 places to see who will reply first. In this business, often the first shop with a decent reply will get the business. Which is why, after going through so many people who reply to emails slow, having someone like Cam on my team is something that I genuinely appreciate. I'm telling you, I'm going to do what I can to steal Cam from the place that he works at. I'm going to do it. I don't care if I got to go to the UK and rip him out of there myself. But that is not an industry standard. That is a Lewis standard. If you wish to respond to your customer inquiry emails at whatever speed that you're able to, you do you. I know I can't use a word like instant in a standard. Try to understand what the problem the customer is having. What the problem? What problem? What the problem? Hi. Try to understand what problem the customer is having, rather than focusing on what they need fixed, because the customer might have the wrong solution to the problem they are having. A customer might ask you to replace a screen cable when they have no backlight, even if their fault is with a DC inboard or backlight fuse. Offering to do the specific job the customer wants sets the expectation that when they pay for that service, the device will be fixed, and they will blame us when what they diagnose to be the issue does not fix the problem. We focus on providing solutions, not on for hire part swapping. I think that whether or not this is a best practice or a standard will be debated at some point, but if someone says replace my screen cable and you don't ask why do you want that done, that's a fail. What if they have corrosion on the DC inboard, which is causing the machine, because the hall sensors on the DC inboard, to think it's closed all the time? Now you're going to replace a screen cable because they read on some fucking iFixit comments forum that replacing the screen cable always fixes the issue, because that's a do-it-yourself favorite. It's kind of like when people tell you replace the old caps like that. There's two things in the industry, like recap it and replace the screen cable. Like for some reason, people think that those two things fix everything. So I put this here because if you don't try to solve their problem, if you just replace a part, they're still going to be mad at you if that doesn't fix the problem. You want to fix their problem. You want to be one step ahead. So if they say, replace my screen cable, and you just do it and it doesn't work, they're not going to be happy. If anything, they're going to think you're ripping them off because you're charging them $100 to do what they asked and it didn't do it. You need to figure out what the problem is and then resolve it. So anytime a customer asks you to replace a specific thing rather than to solve a problem, you should find out what the problem is. So try to understand what problem it is that the customer is having. Someone here said, internet researchers are the best Karens. Yes. Do you think problem is a wrong word for service? Try to understand what service the customer is having. No. No. Never edit a dictionary. It will go very, very badly. No. No, no, no. Try to understand what problem the customer is having versus try to understand what service the customer is having. Aren't you cute, little Twitch chat? Oh, it's a good little Twitch chat. So try to understand what problem the customer is having rather than focusing on what part they ask to be fixed. Even if you perform the service of replacing the specific part they ask be replaced, seek to understand the problem they are having that led them to ask for this to be replaced, because the customer may have the wrong solution. Might be prescribing the wrong solution to their problem. Answering phones. Don't sound miserable when talking to customers. This should be obvious, but it's very, very difficult to get people to understand. The customer is the one that pays your bills. They pay your salary. Your employer is not paying you. Your employer is a middleman between the customer and you, a conduit between you and the customer. The customer is the one that is paying you. And it doesn't matter how nice you are to your boss if you're an asshole to the customer. And a lot of people don't have any basic concept of the fact that the customers are the ones that pay their bills. The customers are the one that make the entire business possible. They treat I hate this mentality where it's kind of like with public school, like this place would be so great if it wasn't for these damn kids, the teachers that hate kids. This business would be so great if not for the customers. Yeah, you mean the people that make it possible for you to have this as a fucking business. Yes, there are annoying customers, and they're not all the customers, but most of the customers are good people, and they pay your fucking bill. So don't sound miserable when dealing with the people who pay your bill. Now, my reason here. Customers are already unhappy when to be calling us. Calling a repair shop is an admission that they have screwed up so bad they need outside help to fix a problem, and that they will be paying money to get back the same device they had last week. They are already unhappy. We need to shift them from unhappy to happy, not reinforce their misery. People often respond to how you say something as much as what you are saying, so do not sound miserable. And also, there are people that will mirror your emotions. So don't create a cycle of misery. And if you have people at your business that are miserable, it's going to take down your business. It's going to lower the productive output of everybody else. It's going to bring down the mood that everybody else had. It's going to fuck with how you deal with your customers. Don't sound miserable when talking to customers. If you have to fake it, I don't give a fuck. Do it. If a customer does not give you a model number, give them a range and tell them pricing. This is more of a best practice thing. Pricing depends on the model and the year. This is really kind of more of a my business thing. So we seek to eliminate friction in the process that risks us losing them as a customer unnecessarily. If the customer is okay with the price range, you've answered their question. If they're not okay with the price range or want a specific price, then you place the onus on the customer to figure out what model machine they have. So let's say I'm talking back and forth with somebody and they go, how much is it to replace the battery on a MacBook? And I go, well, anywhere from $100 to $200. And they go, okay, thank you very much. I've answered their question and they're satisfied. If they go, how much is it to replace the battery in the MacBook? Well, it's anywhere from $100 to $200. Well, why is there a range? Well, there's over 50 different MacBooks between 2006 and the present, and you didn't tell me which one you have. If you tell me what model MacBook you have or what the year is, I'm more than happy to give you an exact price. And then they go, okay, I have an A1466. Okay, it's $129 or whatever to replace the battery. The reason that this is important to do is, this is really more of a best practice than a standard, is you don't want to create a reason for the customer to procrastinate. If you tell a customer it depends on the model number, now the customer has to find their model number. What if they don't have the computer in front of them? If they don't have the computer in front of them, now they don't even have an idea of what anything is. So, okay, if you say, well, call me back when you have a model number, they don't even have a range. So at least if you said between 100 and 200, they have a range to work with. They kind of understand that it's not going to be $800. They know it's within their price range. They may be happy. If you give them nothing, now you say you must do this work of finding a model number for me to give you any idea, now they're just going to procrastinate. So they're going to say, okay, when I get home, I'll find the model number. When they get home, their kids are having a screaming, crying fit, and they're having a temper tantrum, so you forget about it. And then the next day you forget about it. And the next day you forget about it. And then next week you need to take it on a trip, a company meeting, and now you don't have it fixed. And now you're not going to get it fixed because it takes a day for maybe a few hours for it to get fixed. If it's a glued-in battery, you don't have the time. You just lost that person as a customer. Don't create a procrastination point for the customer. They may very well be totally okay with the range of between $100 and $200. And if they're not okay with that range, then place the onus on them. Tell them, listen, I'd love to give you a price range. Unfortunately, you said MacBook. Isn't it better to ask the model up front? Aren't they going to be pissed if you say 1 to 200 when they give them the model, it comes out to 200? If they're going to be pissed at that, then they're going to be pissed at anything, and there's not much you can do about that. You can ask for a model number. You're welcome to ask for a model number. What I would do is I would say this range is anywhere from 1 to 200. If you give me a model number, I'll give you an exact price. You can work it in there. But I think that giving people a point to procrastinate getting the job done is going to result in you losing business. So if you say, well, I can't tell you what the price is until you give me the model number, then you're waiting for them to get you a model number. Now, lots of people are just going to give you the model then and there. But a lot of these people you will also never hear from again. And they'll come back later and say, yeah, I just should have got you them. I was just waiting to find the model and I was procrastinating doing the job. If someone gets pissed if you give them a range and then it winds up being the higher end of the range, that you can't control. So you can control yourself. You can control how you deal with a customer. You cannot control other people's misery. And these standards don't seek to... My best practices don't seek to control other people. It just seeks to control what I can control on my side. So if they're asking... So if a range is okay, then the range is okay. If the range is not okay, now they have an incentive built in to give you the model number of the device, and they're going to be more incentivized to do so. Or you could say 100 to 200 depending on the model. If you give me the model, I'll give you an exact price. There are many ways that you can phrase this. But yeah, if a customer doesn't give you the model number, give a range and tell them the pricing depends on model and year. This is pretty much right there already written in the standard, and we can move on to the next. And also, again, I think that this belongs as a best practice. Again, as long as you're not doing things that are blatantly fucking over and ripping off customers, this is really a tip. I should put this in. This is something that I do with my business because it makes us more likely to get the business. It makes the customer less likely to procrastinate bringing the job to us. So that's important to me. It's not something that I think is you have to follow and you have to do it this way. If you don't have the max or minimum range numbers to hand, then you fire your customer service person for being an idiot, or you fire yourself as a business owner for not having a price sheet that your customer service person could follow. You run a fucking foolish business, and I have nothing else to say there. If you don't know what your own services cost, you fucking fail. Like that's. Hi, I'm calling Mac Laptop Repair Specialist with an A1278 MacBook that I'd like fixed. Can you tell me the price? I don't know. You fail. You fucking fail. I'm not coming up with what ifs in this guide for if you're a moron who has no business running a business. We're assuming some basic level of competence in a brain. Reassembly standards. When opening a machine, the drive must be labeled if separated from the computer. There is nothing worse than unnecessarily losing a customer's data because the drive was misplaced. It is easy for the SSD for newer machines to slide away from the casing. I don't care if you are using artist tape. I don't care if you're using a Dymo label printer. I don't care if you're using I don't care what the fuck you do to keep track of it. If you're going to separate the part of the device that has their data from the device, it must be labeled. It is very easy to lose, especially those little M2-like SSDs for the newer machines. That is going to be gone. When taken from one location to another, transport the whole machine, not just a single part. We don't want one part of the machine getting lost or mixed with another. I think this is a basic and easy to follow standard. If you're going to move a device from here to there, it's like we're not working on... Yeah, like, we're not working on oil rigs. We're working on small devices. It's not that hard to transport it, to keep it in one piece as you transport it from here to there. Don't have the motherboard of the device here, the display of the device there, and the casing of the device there. That doesn't work. Everything the machine came with should go out with it. Screws, rubber pieces, etc. With the exception, on occasion, of JTAG connectors. This is going to need some work. We'll put that... Let me see that. All right. Do not... Oh, I actually got an email from some dumb fuck the other day saying, "You look like an idiot. I work in engineering for 30 years, and your distaste for the JTAG protocol shows how little you know." And I actually responded, and I said, "Are you that fucking stupid that you can't tell that this has been a running joke on the channel for 5 years? Like, you took a joke seriously, and you wrote me a good 3-page email explaining how a protocol works because you're too dumb to understand a running joke. Like, just... You should be ashamed of yourself. Get the fuck out of here." Anyway, but aside from that, everything the machine came with should go out with it. Screws, rubber pieces, etc. Customers should get back every part of their machine that they brought it with, unless there is a specific reason for the part not given back to be missing. So if you cut off the JTAG connector because it's corroded, fine, you do you. But we're not doing this thing where, like, half of the screws are going to be missing. This bracket is not necessary. No, put it back together the way it's supposed to be put back together. Put it back together the way it should be put back together, based on best practices. Conduct. Do not be drunk or high at work. I think this is... I don't have a Y here because... Do I need a Y there? Like... Fuck, actually... Don't be drunk or high at work for the most part. I think this is a good standard. What about when you repair a MacBook for a customer and when you return it with a new fuse, but it's a Windows machine? Well, see, that's why I'm not able to get access to schematics, because I don't follow my own standards there, Chris. By the way, if you're looking at my document and you have anything to share, I put it here. And so what I'm looking to do, Chris, is create this list of basic standards. I want to have a list of standards in black, and in green I'm putting why I think it's a good idea that this be a standard. So what Andrew Yang was doing during his presidential campaign, which I thought was smart, anytime you're adding a law to the law books, you should have a time that's going to be reviewed, and then you have to have with it a reason. Like, what do we... One sec, I have to sneeze. Excuse me. I give my microphone COVID. If any law that we're putting on the law books, we're going to have what we look to accomplish with that law, so that 10 years from now we can figure out if this law is actually accomplishing what it was supposed to, and then we can determine if it should still be on the books. So here, I want the black section to be the standard, and the green to be here's why we have that standard, so that if the rules need to evolve or be made better with time, we can do that based on the why. Why not build your own PC brand to sell online? Because no one cares. No one cares. You're 30 years too late, man. Sorry. No one cares. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry makes their own PCs. Like, no one cares. If using someone's tool, ask for permission and give the tool back to the owner after using the tool, not when the repair on the machine is completed. If you are asking to use a tool, you probably need one yourself. Speak to management about buying another one for you. Reason: it is highly frustrating and demoralizing to have to hunt down the basics necessary to do your job. It destroys morale and productivity of your coworkers and creates a corrosive company culture of resentment and low productivity. I have not followed this standard before, and I have to live with the fact that I created a shitty company culture during the time that I was not following this standard. I seek to follow this standard now. I realize I will fall short, but it doesn't mean it should not be a standard. I recall you being an advocate against PBX menu options. That I missed that in your standards, or do you find it less important? This is a general standard of how to run a proper repair business, or how to, and best practices. Whether or not you have a phone tree really has nothing to do with this. Bam. Pop up, that's the least of my concerns. I don't care who it's published by. A lot of people have said you need to make this ISO or GNU GPL or whatever. I don't care about that. At the moment. Let's see. It is not someone else's job to clean up common areas. Don't assume someone else will clean up or the job will not get done. This is, like, again, I'm not looking to babysit how you run your business. So this is really a standard for me, which is going to be in red. Robust. Red, that's a me standard, not a everybody standard. Don't be a prick to anyone, especially customers. Edit soon. The fuck you mean edit soon? Hi? No, edit. It's a good rule. Don't be a prick to anyone, especially customers. Don't be a prick. Don't be a prick. That's an excellent standard. That's an ISO standard right there. If you see a part that has low to no stock, don't assume it's on the way out. Contact the inventory manager. Sometimes systems fall short. In the case I do, we trust our staffs. Yeah, again, this is really not like, this is more company specific. This is all company specific to me. If you want to let people punch in and punch out for someone else, here we go. If there is an issue with a device that may cause a customer to come back for a second repair, don't wait for the device to fail again. Address the issue by talking to the customer or service manager. The worst thing for a customer is when they have a second problem right after paying to fix the first one. That is an industry standard. If you notice that the customer's battery is puffing up and exploding, and they had no backlight, and all they did is ask you to fix their no backlight, don't just give it back to them. Don't let it be a mystery to them that their battery is going to be dead in 2 weeks, or that their battery is going to expand so much that their trackpad doesn't work. Point it out to them. If you see something, say something. Pretty much like that New York, spot a terrorist thing. Do not gossip about other customers in front of or within earshot of existing customers. People do not need to believe. People should not be led to believe that they are spending money at a business where people are talking behind their backs. If you must bash a jackass, no. If you must, do it in private. Yes, JP. Do not do anything we believe in our discretion is adverse to the interests of the company or customers. This is kind of this is really my company standard. Also, everybody say hello to Aryan Rivera. He is an expert trainer. He creates documentation that allows people to train others at large companies. He does an amazing job, and I really wish I had kept up more with him over the past year. Now that I'm settled into this place that I'm debating whether or not I'm going to be staying at very long, I have more time. Delete everything, replace with don't be a dick, and what would Jesus have done? That's an interesting one. Always notate if anything is missing or if there is damage to the device, drive, screws. This really kind of ties into the other thing that I put up at the top. That should be mixed with it. Who knows? Absolute zero? I don't. Listen, man, is it worth $12,500 a month at a space when, what makes this space worth $12,500 a month? Let's think about that. It's surrounded by a bunch of colleges and FIT and NYU that are not open. It's surrounded by a bunch of midtown offices and billion-dollar businesses and all their employees that need stuff fixed that are not open. New York City is the financial capital of the world. Not really. There's a large concentration of really rich people that are all moving out. That would have been a great space to have for the last like several years. It really would have been. It's just right now the value is not, it's not there. If all the business is going to be mail-in, it doesn't make sense. What do you do if a customer says you scratched the device and demands a reduction in fees? The first thing you got to do is figure out if they're bullshitting or not. If you did it, then you discount it. If they're bullshitting you, or if they're the type of person that was looking for a reason to get a discount on everything from the beginning, then you just tell them to buzz off. Like, if you did it, then yeah, you know, it's on you. You fix it. You apologize and you fix it. But if it's someone that was bitching about the fucking hinge on the door, they were bitching about the color of your walls, they were bitching about the fact that that the phone was ringing while you were speaking to them, they were bitching about the fact that it's going to take 2 days instead of 1 day, they were bitching about it being $200 when the other place that has no business license and doesn't pay taxes does it for $189, then just like get the fuck out of my store, you know? Like, you'll know. When getting approval for a repair from a customer, make sure to get approval moving forward with affirmative language. If they say, yes, that sounds good, $200 to fix the board, but please call or email me, that negates prior approval and should prompt you to say, to be clear, you're approving that we can perform the repair at $200 to this device? Imagine you're speaking to someone you have a crush on, and they say, you ask them out in a day, you say, hey, would you like to go out to see Cirque du Soleil with me on Broadway? They say, I'd love to go out with you, but... Would they really love to go out with you? Do they really like you? No, they don't. There's a but there. Of course they don't want to go out with you. The last thing they'd ever want to fucking do in this world is go out with you. That's why the but is there. If they wanted to go out with you, there'd be no but. When someone says, oh yeah, $200 to fix it sounds great, but can you email me for... No, that's not approval. This is something that tricks up every single new person that enters customer service in the repair industry. They think when they tell a customer, it's going to be $200 to fix this, would you like to go ahead with it? And they go, sure, absolutely, just give me a call or an email. What they think that means is email me when it's done. That's not what it means. That's not what it means. And if you think that's what it means, you're about to get a 1-star review. What that means is call or email me because I want to be able to change my mind on this 2 days later. Call me to let me know if it's actually $200. Yeah, it sounds good now, but 2 days from now I change my mind. No, that's not approval. That is not approval. And most people are going to say, well, you have to have it in writing and say that they are okay with it and blah, blah, blah. Even that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you have someone sign. If they say but or any of that bullshit, it's not approval. And so you don't want to be a used car salesman. You don't want to say, I need to know that you want to give me $200. Are you going to give me $200? No, you're not doing that. What you're doing is if they say, oh, you know, sure, just let me know with an email. Okay, yeah, we will email you once the repair is completed, but just to confirm, are you okay with $200 as the repair cost? Because what we're going to do is we're going to fix it, then we're going to call you, and then it's going to be $200 and you come to pick up. Just, yeah, that's okay. Okay. Because most people are a bit ashamed of doing this. They feel like a used car salesman, but I'm telling you, nothing feels worse than... It's really annoying when someone says that, and then they come to pick up. It's like, I never approved this. What do you mean? I said to email me. It's like, yeah, I'm emailing you that it's done. I didn't want it done. So why did you say, sure, that sounds good, when I said this is going to be $200, do you want to go ahead with it? How is signature on a... And that's the other thing, is that a lot of people... That's the other thing. With signed estimates and all that, it's like... It can be tricky. Because people are people. So what you want to do is when you're getting approval, just make sure you don't fall into that trap of when they say, please call or email me, or you'll let me know, right? When they say, you'll let me know, call or email, or but, that's not approval. So anything before the but, please email me or you'll let me know, is not approval. I don't know, Joseph T. I'd like to ride around a little bit. I would most certainly like to ride around a little bit and see what it's like in other areas outside. My third battery arrives soon. I actually should check that. I'm kind of curious. Where is my third battery? Because once I have my third battery, I'll be able to do 240 to 320 miles in a single trip. That's going to be awesome. Well, that's the thing. Signature on paper is not the way this goes most of the time. So someone's going to leave a device off, and then they're going to leave it, and then you're going to give them an estimate over the phone, and they're not physically signing a piece of paper. Now, you could email them an estimate, but then they're going to say, well, they don't have a computer, so they can't load it, or blah, blah, blah. You could email them an estimate and force them to click the approve button. But again, that's another, like, a lot of people who are starting out are going to think if a customer approves, here's what they're going to say. Well, I mean, I just told you to go ahead with it over the phone. Well, so why do you need me to click something? Well, I just told you that I was okay with it. So you mean I have to go into my so how do I find this estimate? Okay, so what do I do? Okay, I don't see the approve button. No, you have to click the link. Oh, so I got to wait for a link to load. Most people are just going to say at that point, okay, you said yes. I'm just going to write down you said yes to the repair and go ahead with it. It gets very tricky. And most people are going to assume to themselves, this person's not going to immediately fuck me over and say I didn't say yes to something I said yes to, so why do I have to do that? We record all of our conversations. It's just a pain in the ass to automatically have them added to the customer file. I don't have a system for that. And shitty customers will be shitty customers. As JP says, no amount of signatures, call recordings, handshakes, or tickles will make them do what is right. So what helps here, and what helps you avoid this, is having that conversation up front. Because when you have that conversation up front, people who are likely to do that are going to take the device back, and they're going to walk away and not get it fixed, and that'll be that. If a customer calls and we have an update or the device is completed, tell the customer they were on the list of people we were going to call and then give them the estimate. If the machine is done, tell the customer what was done to the machine. You don't want to give the customer the impression that if they had not called, they would have never heard from you. It's important to give them an idea if they call you if they call us before we have a chance to call them, that we were about to call them. So what we do is, as we're going through and making all our estimates, we email a lot of the estimates to the customer, but if something is complex or requires bundled pricing or requires something that's just best said by a customer service person because it's going to be a 10 or 20 minute conversation, it goes in the list of people that Kevin will have to call for the day. And when that's the case, sometimes those people will call us before we call them. So if you pick up the phone and say, oh yeah, it looks like your device has this wrong with it, it's going to be $200. You've actually cornered yourself, because now the customer's going to say, why didn't you call and tell me that? Why did I have to call you before you called me? How long were you going to wait until you called me? Is it just sitting on a shelf there? Do you not care about me, the customer? The way you get around that is saying, oh, hey, you're on my list of people to call today. Yeah, it looks like your device needs this. There you go. You get rid of that immediately. You're saving yourself from the 1-star of, this place would not have called me if I had not called them. Because that's what a lot of people are thinking. They're calling you because you didn't call them. If they believe that they were going to get a call from you, they would not be calling you. They're calling you because they didn't get a call from you. They're calling you because they think they're never going to get a call from you. So let them know that they would have gotten a call from you. Makes sense. If a repair is completed, charge the machine before putting it in the slot. Do not give the customer a machine that is not charged if shipped or walked in. It gives the customer the impression that we never tested the device or that something may be wrong. If we give it to them to try it and it is dead. This is the worst first impression you can provide a customer of our services, giving them the finished product back dead. Dead. You don't want to mail a customer back something and then have them turn it on and it doesn't turn on without them charging it. That impression right out of the box of it being dead, that is the impression that they have of your business. When reassembling a device, make sure to test out all functions of the device on the checklist. We have to come up with a checklist. I have a checklist for me, but industry-wide, it's going to differ from shop to shop. Make sure to test out all device functions and make sure all connectors are connected before saying it's completed. The repair is not completed until everything works, not when the problem the customer is facing is solved. A customer who brings in a device for it not charging will not be happy if we give it back to them with Wi-Fi not working or a dead spot in the trackpad. Customers expect the devices leaving a repair shop work, and if what if that? Who the fuck wrote this? Dumbass. And that if there are additional issues, they are made aware of these issues. It displays a lack of competence and undermines their trust in our quality of service if we hand them back devices with unidentified issues. Leave notes with as much detail as possible. Assume that every customer will ask for every single detail on their machine. Leaving detailed notes will allow the person who is talking to the customer to relay everything that is going on with their device without having to talk to the technicians working on it. Every time someone on the phone doesn't know a detail that is important to answer a customer question, we look more like idiots who aren't deserving of that customer's confidence and trust, which makes dealing with any issues that arise over the course of the job difficult. Leave detailed notes. You're not going to be able to foresee every question a customer will ask you, nor can you foresee if a customer is going to become difficult. The more answers that you are able to provide to their questions based on the knowledge you have from the ticket notes, the better off you'll be. Try to ask for a password when possible. If the device is needed for data recovery, tell the customer that it is needed because the device is encrypted. If a device just needs... This is really like my company standards. That this does not require... That shouldn't be an industry thing. Yeah. So we ask for passwords because if it doesn't boot into the operating system, they'll want us to pay return shipping. So let's say I ship a customer back something, and they turn it on and it doesn't boot into the operating system because they have a corrupt operating system. They will say, well, it still doesn't work after I sent it to you. They will want me to pay the return shipping to get the device back to us so that we can reinstall their corrupt operating system. No. We ask for a password. If you don't want to give the password, I'm absolutely okay with that. But if it doesn't boot in your operating system, I'm not covering your return shipping. You know, it's on you. If you don't want to give the password, I'm sure you know how to reinstall your own operating system and how to back up your own data from an operating system that doesn't boot. That's on you. But this is not an industry standard. This is a company thing. Try not to rush into an estimate. Inaccurate. This is really like a best practice thing for me. Rush into an estimate for a customer. Inaccurate estimates create angry customers. Yeah, this is not rushing is really something that's really more for me. A rose, maybe. Let's see. Always ensure that the tools you have are working properly. Don't wait for them to die. Some of the tools we use are difficult to find and take lots of time to replace. The sooner you let someone know it's not working, the better, blah, blah. All right, this is something that's really more my company, not general, so we are going to put that here. My martial arts instructor says that all the time, Aaron. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. He always tells me that. If a customer is adamant they want to go through with a repair that may not fix the issue, tell the customer that the repair that is being done may not fix the issue they are having. Strongly discourage them from doing this several times. The reason: customers will not hold themselves responsible if they prescribe a repair for themselves that is ineffective. They will hold us responsible. You should always have the best interest of your customer at heart, and that includes saying no to work that will not repair the problem, even if you stand a profit from doing the work. So that's about that. That's my list of stuff. There's a bunch more that I'm going to add to it. This is really more standards than it is best practices. I tried to make it standards, not best practices, but I know it's going to wind up becoming kind of both. I have a lot of best practices and procedures in a different document that I worked on with Aryan, and I will put this link here. If you have a repair shop that has standards, please, I'm more than happy to see them. hi@rossmangroup.com. I have, at this point in time, over 100 emails. So in my last email, I said if anybody has company standards that they've created for their company, I'm more than happy to see it. I put up Hi's email. I asked if people would email. I have over 100 emails. I don't believe any of these emails that I've scrolled through are anything that I asked for. And I appreciate it. People are enthusiastic about it, but like 0 of them are actually what I asked for. If you have what I asked for, great. If not, then I will simply continue following that rule of the internet, which is rather than ask for something, I'll just do it wrong until people correct me into it being done right. You never want to ask how to do something in Linux. You want to do it wrong in an IRC channel and wait for the mods to correct you. And that's what we're... Lesson of the internet. So we'll see. What to do if a customer becomes abusive, derogatory, or threats? We haven't gotten to that. No. Yeah. I'm thinking Jess and I are just going to troll by making our standards list, and we're just going to keep doing it, and when people get mad at the fact that it's being done wrong, then they'll actually contribute. People don't contribute what you ask for. Let's see. So if I go through the emails that I got, let's take a look. Someone emailed, hi, saying I have an iPhone 6s Plus showing no carrier. Please tell me how to fix. Let's see. Why am I not using GitHub? Why are my standards not GNU licensed? GNU. GPLv3, not GNU. Same difference. You get what I mean. Ooh, this is interesting. Someone who worked at Genius Bar, he said there are certain standards there that don't suck that may make sense. I like this. Some of this, actually, the stuff I've been getting this morning is actually useful. The stuff I got right after I released the video wasn't very useful, but I actually have a lot of emails to... Yeah, it seems like they're trickling in now. Why aren't you making ISO standard? Oh, go away with your ISO shit. I'm yawning. Well, thank you for the people that were joined the stream, that watched, that had anything to contribute. I think it was cool. I will maybe do some more streams like this. I don't really know what it is I'm going to be streaming lately, but... I don't know what you're talking about, chaotic biomass. See you all later.